My husband's entire family moved into our house without asking me. 4 adults, suitcases, coolers of food, and a 24-hour warning. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what I found out 2 weeks later. First story from Direct Caterpillar. Am I the asshole for blowing up at my husband after his entire family moved into our house without asking me? So, I have been married to Tim for 5 years. He's incredibly family-oriented, which normally is sweet. Keyword, normally. His mom, Laura, his sister, Emma, Emma's boyfriend, Chris, and Laura's husband, Jack, all lived together in Laura's home until a gas leak turned their house into a carbon monoxide chamber. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the house needed major repairs. We were told they'd be displaced for a while. Here's where it gets fun. Tim unilaterally decided to invite them to live with us. Not ask me, not discuss it, just told me they were coming. 24 hours before they showed up with suitcases and coolers of food like it was a summer camping trip. This wasn't a, can we host them for a few days situation. This was, they'll stay until the house is fixed, which I later learned could take months. I was livid. And before anyone calls me heartless, no. I grew up with 3 older siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. I'm the youngest, and I understand the importance of family. I would give my family the shirt off my back, but I also believe in boundaries, especially when I wasn't consulted in my own damn house. Now, for context, Emma is the miracle baby, born after Laura had long given up hope of another child. She's the golden child, and Laura dotes on her like a Victorian-era heir. Tim, who's the second oldest, has spent most of his life playing peacemaker and trying to earn his mother's affection, especially since Laura and Tim's dad divorced when he was 10. His dad and stepmom? Absolute angels. Respectful, kind, never overstep. Can't say the same about Laura and Jack. Emma and Chris are both full-time students with 0 job prospects. Chris spends all day in our media room playing FPS games and vaping stress away, while Emma uses our guest room as her personal content studio. She's an aspiring lifestyle influencer with less than 500 followers and a ring light addiction. Jack just sits in our sunroom reading and pretending the rest of the world doesn't exist. And Laura? She's been reorganizing my spice rack, commenting on my wardrobe, and calling my dog hers. I finally snapped after week 2, today, when Laura told me that maybe I should put more effort into my appearance, since I work from home and have no excuse. I run a consulting firm from my home office. She thinks I play on spreadsheets. I told Tim we needed to talk, and he actually had the nerve to say, "Babe, don't start. They're family. They needed us." I lost it. I told him they're his family, not his responsibility. That he crossed a huge line inviting 4 adults into our home without my input. That I felt disrespected, bulldozed, and treated like an afterthought in my own marriage. I told him I've been a good wife, a good host, and a better daughter-in-law than his family deserves, but I'm not a doormat. He accused me of being cold and said I didn't understand what it's like to come from a broken home. I reminded him that he married someone from a healthy home, where people ask before they impose and boundaries are respected. Just because Laura emotionally manipulated him for decades doesn't mean I'm going to let her run my house like it's her second chance at suburban royalty. Now he's sulking. Laura's been making martyr comments about not being wanted. Emma passive-aggressively posted a TikTok about people who don't support your dreams, and I'm the villain in my own home. I love my husband, but I feel like I'm being punished for having a backbone. Update. So I did a little digging, and I went full detective mode. I told Tim I was going to visit my niece, which I do regularly, so it didn't raise flags. Instead, I made 3 stops. Stop 1, the gas company. I called and asked about the supposed gas leak at Laura's address. They had no record of any emergency call, appointment, or report from that property. Nada. They didn't even know the names. Stop 2, the landlord. I called Laura's landlord, their house is a rental, to ask if they'd been notified about any gas-related issues. He was confused. told me point blank that no one had contacted him about a gas leak, and if there had been one, it would have been reported and handled ASAP. He'd just done a routine inspection a week before they fled to our house and found nothing wrong. Stop 3. Their actual house. Yep, I drove over there. No warning signs, no work vehicles, nothing indicating any repairs were happening. I even Googled what to look for after a carbon monoxide emergency. There were no "do not enter" notices, no equipment, no new detectors installed. Nothing. The neighbors that were out front, and I asked them about it, and they had casually confirmed they hadn't seen any crews or heard about any leak either. I was fuming. Now, I knew Emma's boyfriend Chris is as sharp as a wet paper towel and has the worst poker face known to man. So I got him alone while everyone else was at the beach, again, and calmly said, "You're not in trouble, but I need you to tell me the truth about why you're really here, because I spoke to the gas company and the landlord. Y'all, this boy snitched so fast, I didn't even have to ask twice. Turns out the entire gas leak story was a lie, cooked up by Laura and Emma. They knew Tim would panic if he thought something had happened to them, and that if they said emergency, he'd roll out the red carpet. The real reason they wanted to stay with us? We live 10 minutes from the beach, the same beach that they've been conveniently going for walks there almost every day. They didn't want to pay for a hotel or an Airbnb, and like I said, they knew he'd do it because he's always trying to be the hero, especially when it comes to his mom. When I confronted Tim, I didn't yell. I just calmly laid it all out, what I'd found, what I'd confirmed, and what Chris confessed. And I saw the exact moment it hit him. His own mother and sister manipulated him using a fake emergency just to score a free beach vacation. He was shattered, then angry, then disgusted. He didn't even hesitate. He told them all to pack their stuff and leave that exact second. Laura cried as she was trying to guilt trip him. It didn't work, obviously. Emma screamed, Jack shrugged and asked for a ride, and Chris apologized 3 separate times on his way out the door. Now it's just me and Tim again. The silence in the house is unreal. But to his credit, Tim finally got it. We had a long conversation about boundaries, family enmeshment, and manipulation. He admitted this was a wake-up call and that he's tired of being the fixer who gets used. We're now looking into couples counseling, not because I'm leaving him, but because this broke a piece of my trust, and we both want to rebuild it the right way. For once, I feel like Tim finally sees things for what they are. Comments. User Original Math. I can believe that 4 adults were displaced from their homes and the husband moved his family in without consulting the wife. That kind of crap happens all the time, and understandably, the wife would be upset. What I refuse to believe is that an update was posted the very next day that includes OP going on a goose chase to find the truth, and then suddenly, the husband sees the error of his ways, and they're now going to couples counseling. Like, they needed to come up with a whole dramatic story to be able to stay maybe 10 to 20 minutes closer to the beach. They couldn't just drive the extra tiny distance and continue sleeping in their own beds. Staying in other people's houses is uncomfortable, even if you're an entitled jerk. It's definitely not worth it for a slightly shorter drive to the beach. I do believe there are families who are entitled and enmeshed and have a golden child, etc., but this just seems like way too much effort for not enough reward for the story's villains. User Greased Up Tiger. Oh, I have no trouble seeing getting intel like that. It's not like your average landlord or gas company employee are drilled to adhere to a strict contact identification protocol before they give out any info at all, LOL. If someone calls the gas company, "Hi, I'm calling regarding the suspected gas leak at last week," they'll just assume you're involved somehow. Because why else would you even know about it? You'll likely only want to know if it's fixed or what happens next, like crew comes out on Monday. Anyway, and the landlord will go, "WTF, was there a gas leak?" and blurt out that, nope, he's heard nothing about any gas leak. Also, maybe Oop has the same last name as the renter. She's her DIL after all. But the landlord would straight call his renter afterwards to ask if there's a gas issue. Second story. From OK Preparation. My best friend accidentally sent me a text about secretly hating me. I and my best friend have been friends since high school. Now we are a part of the same college friend group. Friday night, everyone was hanging out together like we typically do on the weekends. I had 1 drink, and my best friend had 3 to 4 drinks before we went back to her house. Everything was totally normal. I wasn't exactly planning to stay the night, but she pleaded with me and said we could get breakfast in the morning if I stayed. I obliged, and she told me she was going to sleep alone in her room so that she could call her long-distance boyfriend. So after telling each other, "I love you, good night," and giving hugs, I went to go sleep in the guest room. About 20 minutes later, I received a text from her that read, "She's staying in the guest room, so I don't want to crap talk her too loudly." I responded with a simple, "Huh?" and received another, longer text complaining about how she just can't figure out a respectful way to get rid of me. It was probably around 2:45 a.m. at this point, but I packed up all of my things and snuck out the back door. The next morning, she sent me a voice memo apologizing and saying that she was drunk and meant to text her boyfriend, but I'm just not that fun anymore, and we've grown apart. My heart is broken. It feels wrong to bring it up to anyone else in our group of friends, so I've spent the last few days grieving and trying to remind myself that I'm only 20 and can still bounce back and find new friends. Unfortunately, my 21st birthday is in a few weeks, and now I fear I won't have anyone to spend it with. I guess posting this and venting anonymously online to a bunch of strangers might help? I'm not sure, but while I wait for my emergency therapy appointment tomorrow, any advice is appreciated. Comments. User Adrian. Convincing you to stay just to act frustrated that you won't leave is such strange behavior. IDK about her normal behavior outside of this incident, but that sounds like the type of person who'll twist anything so that they sound like the wronged party. No reasoning with those types at all. Nor reveal. She's cruel and strange. This is somehow about clout with her boyfriend. Obviously completely untrustworthy and deeply immature. BTW. She wasn't going to try to get you to leave. That was all performative. BS for her. BF. If she hadn't texted you by mistake, she would never have changed her behavior towards you or said anything. I think you've let her off too easy, and she needs a proper slagging. But I understand why you might be reluctant to do that. Sham rocks. I had a best friend like this. We'd been friends since age 6. She imploded our friendship the day before my senior year started, and we had committed to being managers for the football team. I had to see her 6 days a week in close proximity. When I talked to other friends who knew her, it was obvious that this was the norm for her. We'd been friends since 6 years old. I played nice from August till the end of November. 30 years later, I've never spoken to her again. I even sent a card to her mom when her grandmother died. Forgiveness took a long time, because I'm kind of petty and can hold a grudge, but I would still never welcome her back into my life. It hurts a lot for you right now, but you'll be so glad to surround yourself with people you can truly trust. I agree with other comments to keep your other friends. They will show themselves if they don't support you. If they ask, tell them the truth. Third story from Global Maybe. My boyfriend knew I didn't want unprotected sex. Now I'm pregnant and don't remember having sex. A few weeks ago, my boyfriend, my roommate, and I went to a concert. I got extremely drunk. Not buzzed drunk, completely obliterated. I was falling over, couldn't walk properly, and could barely function. My boyfriend had also been drinking, but not to the same extent. He was sober enough to drive us over an hour home after the concert. According to my roommate, I went straight to bed when we got home. I have very little memory of anything after leaving the concert. About 2 to 3 weeks later, I started having pregnancy symptoms and got a positive pregnancy test. Based on the timing of the tests, the pregnancy appears to be very early. The problem is that, to my knowledge, I had not had any sexual contact in months. I have absolutely no memory of having sex. When I told my boyfriend I was pregnant, he casually said he doesn't really remember having sex either, but thinks it might have happened when we got home from the concert. His explanation technically fits the timeline, and because I was so intoxicated, I wouldn't remember it. Some additional context. I do not want this pregnancy. I stopped sleeping in the same bed as him after finding out. Before this happened, he knew I did not want to have sex unless we could prevent pregnancy. I had explicitly told him I didn't want sex because he has difficulty maintaining an erection long enough to use condoms, and I did not want to risk getting pregnant. He was aware of that position. He frequently joked about getting me pregnant, which has always bothered me because he doesn't seem to take the possibility seriously. Part of me feels responsible because I chose to get that drunk. Another part of me keeps coming back to the fact that I was apparently so intoxicated that I have no memory of what happened, and I had previously made it clear that I did not want unprotected sex. I'm not looking for legal advice. I'm trying to understand how other people would view this situation. If your partner had sex with you while you were so intoxicated that you have no memory of it, after you had previously said you did not want unprotected sex, would you consider that consensual? I'm just still trying to, I guess, categorize what happened in my own head. Next story. From user Throw Raw Help Me. My wife left me for 3 months and recently begged me to take her back. I said no and no. Everyone seems to be against me. I need some advice, strangers. 7 years ago, I got married to the girl of my dreams, Denise. We had been dating for 2 years before that, and it was like a dream come true. That changed after our marriage. After our marriage, she constantly started feeling down and out of it, and eventually, I got her to go to a doctor who sent her to a therapist, and from there, we found out she had depression, to do with things from her past that she was trying to forget. I decided to be as supportive as I could be. I took care of most of the housework, despite working 40 hours a week, and told her to just get herself in order, and if she needed to talk to me, I would be there for her. That was 6.5 years ago. Before she left, she was still depressed. She basically only lays in bed and complains. She does nothing. We had no intimacy, no sex, no cuddles, no going out. My entire day was filled with work and housework. Day in and day out, I worked my ass off, came home to a mess of a house and started cleaning up, starting dinner and so forth. At the end of the day, I was exhausted, and all I could expect was for Denise to unload more of her trouble on me and complain about herself, me, and everything around her. I could not even hang out with my buddies to get away from it all, as she would relentlessly call me saying she was scared and everything, so I also had no social life. Not that I had time for it anyway. But despite it all, I pushed through, hoping that sooner or later she would break out of it and we could have a proper life together, as I loved her, and as they say, for better and worse. And this was quite clearly worse, possibly the worst it would ever be. 4 months ago, she got a new therapist, and 3 months ago, that therapist suggested she needed time away from me, as her depression started when we married, so I may be the cause of it. The moment she told me, I was crushed. I started doubting myself, blaming myself, worrying. But beneath it all, this creeping sense of having done everything for her, having sacrificed years of my life as a cash cow and a servant for her to lay in bed, and this is my thanks? It is my fault now? But I rejected that feeling, trying to talk through it. But she decided to leave and stay with her mother, saying she needed time away from me and that I may be the cause of her depression and so forth. Honestly, the entire argument is a blur in my head. I spend the next month when she moved out calling her, her family, begging and humiliating myself just to get her back, apologizing for everything I may have done wrong. Honestly, I was close to ending it all as I was so hopeless at that point. But that month passed, and as it passed, I couldn't help but feel relieved. I came home and it was quiet. I could indulge in my hobbies, which I had not done in years. The place was not a mess every time I came home. I could relax. And 2 months in, I even realized I could hang out with my buddies again, grabbing a beer, enjoying life. And slowly, I started to realize that I had been miserable this entire time. Slowly, that turned into more and more realizations before I realized I honestly did not love her anymore. I felt like my youth was wasting away. I could do much, much better than this. I felt like I was a caretaker of a handicapped old lady. Hell, I still looked good, and as I went out, I started once again gaining back my self-confidence. Women would flirt with me. I felt wanted even though I never did flirt back. After all these realizations, I suddenly got a call from my wife, saying she made a huge mistake. She was sobbing her eyes out, and how she was an idiot taking the therapist's words as fact, and how much she loved me. For a moment, I wanted to say yes, please, come back. But I couldn't. I just blurted it out and said to her she had left me, and I was done with this relationship. I told her I would get divorce papers, and I told her I had wasted enough time as it was, and this final action of hers was the nail in the coffin. After that, I just dropped the phone, started crying for a bit, before turning in and feeling liberated. The issue now is that everyone in my family is telling me I am making a mistake. I should take her back. I owe it to her to try and make it work. Marriage is not always fun, etc. The thing is, I never had fun in this marriage. I can't remember the last time I had fun and wasn't miserable. We are both young and fit, and we never even go out. Hell, the last time we had sex is over a year ago. All I am to her is a damn servant, as it seems, and I rather live along than spend one more hour taking care of her. But on the other end, I doubt myself. Am I really dumping someone that is depressed? I feel horrible about it. I feel like a failure. I just need advice. Update. I ended up having a really good think about my entire situation, trying to wait out whether I would be able to give her another chance to begin with, as despite my post would give away, was actually something I struggled with. I was a bit of an emotional mess after all, and honestly, I sort of lacked control over my emotions. As you might have noticed in some of my responses, sometimes I seemed nostalgic, forgiving and nice. Other times I seemed vengeful, resentful and hateful. I will admit of the bat that this is all me, and like I told some people in messages, I was and still am not in the best of places emotionally. But I have been working on getting my own emotions under control the past few days, and I can say I am in a better place than I was a week ago. But it will certainly take some more time for me to recuperate from all of this. Now off to what people were likely looking to see. What ended up happening this week that made me decide to make an update post? Well, after all that thinking, I decided, regardless of what course I would be taking, as some people suggested, it would be my decisions and my decision alone, not the decision of my parents, her parents, friends, or people on the internet. Mine alone. A decision I would be the one living with at the end of the day. So, I decided I would inevitably end up regretting it all if I did not, at the very least, talk to my wife and get some closure. So, that is exactly what I did. 2 days ago, I decided to invite her to our home to talk about our relationship, what I would be doing going forward, her depression, and so forth. Basically, just to get it all on the table. Now, it would be impossible to narrate this entire conversation, and honestly, it was about some very personal stuff, so I would not want to, even if I could. So I will instead try to break it down and give a summary of sorts. We ended up discussing our entire relationship. I must admit, it was very awkward and confronting, as it was about a lot of stuff myself in particular had bottled up for so long. It was very hard for me not to start yelling. I told her I was exhausted. I told her everything we had been trying obviously had not been working. I told her I felt like a doormat. I told her she was not the person I married. I told her these 3 months had been liberating for me. I told her I was tired of it all. I told her that I felt like she wasn't doing anything to help herself. I told her she was not doing anything around the house. I told her a marriage is supposed to be a partnership, but I felt like I was basically married to myself, and that I was the only partner in this relationship, essentially. I unloaded the stuff I had been feeling for years by now. I told her I had a hard time not regretting the day I married her at this point, and while it obviously really, really hurt her to hear, she told me she knew. She knew I was unhappy. She knew she had been anything but a partner. She knew she was horrible about it all. But she felt like whatever she tried, she always ended up fearing getting better, getting demotivated to do anything, and that when she left, she almost felt like she had burdened me enough, that it wasn't for her, but for me, but that she went about it the wrong way and ended up blaming the therapist as an easy way out. While it was true the therapist had guided her in some way towards this decision, the decision she made was for the right reasons, but the explanation she provided was tailored to her, not to me, which was disregarding the therapist's advice entirely. She said she felt guilty about it all, and that guilt was just making her psychological state even worse. She said she hated seeing me going to work, coming home exhausted and having to clean everything up until I just passed out, essentially. Which, I might add, is a massive step for her, as she never admitted this. But she started admitting a lot of stuff and apologizing for a lot of things in our relationship. She said her time away made her realize how much I mean to her and how much she took for granted, and that she should have done better a long time ago. To which I told her I felt like I had been enabling her, essentially, while I had tried to keep her to her medication and all of that. At the end of the day, it was always me picking up after her, which probably made it easier for her to slip back into it all. Well, after hours upon hours of talking, we ended up hugging for what seemed like over an hour before going back to talking, and she basically said she understood if I would not take her back. She understood if I did not trust her to get better. She understood that I was tired, but she asked me to give her one more chance, and she would do anything for it. I have to admit, my mind immediately wanted me to go to the obvious option, which was not taking her back, not giving her a chance. But honestly, in this discussion, she was the person I was once in love with. She seemed to take ownership of things. She seemed different somehow, but I also knew the risks coming with taking her back, and honestly, I was not about to pull another Hail Mary. So I told her I would be willing to give it a shot, but it wouldn't be like before. Not at all. I told her she would have to prove she was going to put in the effort first, before we could even begin. Firstly, I told her she had to get a part-time job. I don't care what sort of job, whether it is waiting tables at a clothing store or at some company, it is irrelevant. As long as she made sure to go every single time she was supposed to go, look presentable when going, and made sure she did her best at said job. Secondly, she knows I like going to the gym. As such, she would be going with me at least 3 times a week. Get in shape again, get some exercise in, but most of all, be busy in a healthy way. Thirdly, she is going to help her parents around the house while she stays there. No more sitting in her room along with her thoughts. Groceries, dishes, vacuuming, whatever. She was going to make an effort doing it every single day. Fourthly, as some people suggested, we were going to go on a date once a week. No more escaping, not wanting to go outside, feeling self-conscious. No more excuses. Fifthly, we were going to do couples counseling. I know we tried before, but we will try again. Sixth, she is going to go to a new therapist. Not lie about anything anymore and do what the therapist tells her. Seventh, if the therapist suggests medication, she is going to take them every time she is supposed to take them, and I will keep them with me and she will take them in front of me. No more forgetting, no more not taking them, no more complaining. And if there are issues with them, we will try different ones, but regardless, she is going to stick to it. I told her, once we are doing all that we can, go to the next stage of repairing our relationship. But until she does them and keeps them up for a good few months, there is not a single chance I will continue our relationship. And yes, I know ultimatums are a taboo on relationship advice, but I don't think I have much of a choice. To my surprise, she actually agreed, and to my even bigger surprise, despite it only having been 2 days, she was actually helping her mother and father around the house yesterday and has been looking for jobs. Her dad also said she seems a lot more cheerful. Now, I know there is a long road left, and I know there is a good chance this won't work out and that I should not cheer too early, but honestly, I am hoping I get my wife back, and I felt I owe it to myself to at least allow her this one last chance, Call me an idiot for giving her this chance, but, well, perhaps I am an idiot. Comments. User Reddity Jim. Whatever you do, do not let it go back to where it was. Do not enable the pity party that we depressed people stick ourselves in. That being said, I am concerned about the stipulations. They are mostly things that will help, so they themselves aren't the issue. My concern is the motivations and potential reactions. If she doesn't get a job, move out of bed, exercise and see a therapist because she wants, and instead does because you told her to, she's going to fail. Be careful to be certain it's what she wants, not what she does, so eventually she gets what she wants. If it is, it'll have no staying power. My other concern is the fact she will fail at times. She'll have days where she just can't get out of bed or can't bring herself to go outside, and that actually is okay, so long as it doesn't last long. Don't get mad. Don't say, "Remember the rules," or something. Be supportive, but don't enable like last time. When I had days where I didn't wish to budge, the worst thing my ex did was yell, get mad, or say things that had emotional weight. The best thing she ever did was say things like, "I know it's hard, but we don't get better laying in self-pity," or some crap. If you truly want it to work, you'll need to be understanding and flexible to a degree, but don't let it get back to the way it was. Your intentions were good, but it wasn't good for either of you. I wish you luck. It's very hard to live with people with depression, especially as tough love doesn't work, and neither does enabling and excusing. There's a balance there, and I truly wish you find it. You've been through a lot. Don't think at any point I blame you or think negative of either of you, and I'm sorry if any of this sounds critical. All the best, mate. Take care of each other, but primarily yourself, as being selfish isn't a bad thing. I felt no trust, and I felt like I needed to fix that, so I demanded access to all accounts and passwords, and I was wrong. The relationship would never heal if I did that. I would be compromising myself and my principles, and only hurting us both down the line, and your rules will do the same. The bottom line is, you're not supporting her to get better. You're controlling her so she's better for you, so you can feel secure. It's heading towards abuse, and you either need to rethink this or leave, as you're going to damage her further and yourself as well. You can't dictate to someone what they can do or should do. You can encourage what's best for them and support without enabling, but keeping her meds and making her take them in front of you? No, that's messed, and it's abuse, and you cannot allow yourself to be that person. See a couples counselor and follow their advice and strategies before you enact any of this crap. You're comprising yourself, and it's only going to destroy you both. And it's not fair on her. Brutal file. I'm a psych nurse. In a perfect world, OP wouldn't have to hold her meds. But in the real world, med non-compliance is the #1 reason for readmission to psych wards. Maybe eventually, when OP can trust his wife to talk to him before stopping her meds, then it's fine for her to be responsible for taking her meds. In the meanwhile, it's good for him to make sure that she's actually taking her meds. When patients start to feel better, that's when they're likely to rationalize that they don't need their meds anymore and stop taking them. And if the wife knows that she's likely to stop her meds, she might actually feel better knowing that her husband is there to make sure she takes them correctly. A lot depends on her and how she really feels about it. Thank you from me and Jerry for watching. I hope you love these stories. Don't forget to subscribe that you don't miss new video. See you!